Well, here we are for night number two, part two of the disgusting story that happened with 221B Tactical and a well known firearms company and a well known firearms competitor. This is something that happened two, 2 years ago now, maybe a little bit more, and maybe going on 3 years now. And when people heard this story, they were disgusted, but they weren't really shocked. They were more shocked at how it could happen, more so than it happened. And when I tell you this story, I want to know from you what is more shocking or what is more troubling. Because there's an element of this story that makes this story almost unbelievable. And honestly, it was unbelievable to me and everyone at 221B Tactical. So, as I alluded to in last night's video, we were commissioned to create this product with a very short window, 8-week notice for a shooter. Now, some people have messaged me and they asked who is the company and who is the shooter that was working with the company. And I want to be very clear. This is not so much a knock against the company. It's absolutely not a knock against the company because I love this company and I've been shooting their guns for the last 2 decades. And they've been through some turmoil as of late. However, I'm not someone who jumps ship with, one controversy or whatever. Everyone can look in the mirror and, see someone that is flawed in some way. So I wasn't someone who jumped ship. I still have, plenty of their guns, and I've never had an issue with any of their guns, thank God. And I'll continue to shoot their guns until I personally experience something that is a breakdown. So there's no knock on this company because really what happened with them, I don't want to say it's no fault of theirs, but I want you to listen to the story. And then I want to get your opinion on whether there's any fault lies with them. I don't believe so. Now, when it comes to the person who was working for this company, female pro shooter, and I don't want to say names. Most of you guys can figure it out, but I'll say female pro shooter who, like I said last night, is no longer with this company. This is someone I've known for years. I was introduced to years and years ago. Every time I've had an interaction with this person, she's been super kind, super sweet, and it's just been, a good energy. And when this event occurred, because the background of knowing this person as being so sweet, so kind, apparently, very honest, straightforward, straight shooter, no pun intended. And, I was shocked. So I at first thought, man, there has to be something else going on here. There has to be something underlying here that someone has not told me. And it wasn't until someone from the firearms company called me. Actually, 3 different people called me and told me what I believed happened actually had happened. I was shocked. I was blown away. So the company, like many of you have pointed out in the messages, people texting me even, with Sig Sauer. And so, like I said with the story, they had planned to launch this bag for their female competitive shooter, build this brand around her with this name, this Rose name. So worked with her, worked with the company, and made a miracle happen and got this. It was a fanny pack. Live product finalized on the ground in Las Vegas for their range day. I think it was within 8 weeks. Might have been less. And like I said last night in last night's video, other companies apparently had been approached for this, and they all declined because they said it wasn't enough time. Going to take a year, going to take over a year, whatever. We were able to make it happen. So the bags land there. The event goes off. It's great. All the women are wearing the fanny pack, and it's on display. And it came out awesome, and it came out exactly how she wanted it. And she was, she's the one who gave all the design elements of what it needed to be, and she's the one who gave it the final okay. So I was happy with that, and it was a hit. And then on top of that, what was even better was over the next few months, they were saying that they sold out and they were placing reorder. And I think they even asked to create a men's version or a larger version of this bag for a larger pistol. And we did that. And it was essentially a replica of the smaller one that was made for this female shooter and her program, this Rose program. And it was it. I mean, it was great. It was great for them to say, hey, not only do we want to order more of the smaller female fanny pack, but we want to order some for the men or larger weapons. Great. Reorder after reorder. I don't know how many reorders there were, but clearly they were selling a lot of units. And the reviews online were great from all the females that were buying it. And this shooter has a great following, has a great fan base. And it was great. It was great to see it. So now, throughout the year, they were having these in-person events. And these in-person events, they were inviting female shooters across the country, maybe around the world, I don't know. And they would come and they would do this 2 or 3 day event where they would shoot. They would have a get together. They had Q&A, and they had food, and they had drinks, and they had a little party, and they had like a dress up formal night. Sig Sauer put this event on phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And the women who came had a great time. I talked to all of them. Awesome, meeting awesome women from around the country, around I guess maybe some Canadians there. And it was a good event. It was a good program. And it was something that I saw as a great business idea. Stepping away from SHOT Show and then doing these in-person micro events and making them really personal. I loved it. It was a great idea. 221B Tactical was invited because we were the manufacturer of the fanny pack that was the premier product, besides the firearm itself, for these women for this Rose program. And there was a couple of other things that were, products that went with it. There was like a gun safe. There was a couple other things. But this fanny pack was, let me not say the premier product, but it was one of the main products that went in line with this whole program. So as the manufacturer of this, we were invited to come, which is great. I popped in. Of course, we had someone there, the table set up, working the booth, and we had some, great. We always bring in female officers whenever possible to, be there to answer questions about the fanny pack and how it works and all that stuff, and also have some other 221B tactical gear on display for the females. So the first couple events went off without a hitch. It was great. One was in Chicago, and I'm trying to think where the other one was, but they were always in a different city, which was great. And I think it was after the second event, I got a call, and the call was essentially that. So there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to come out and say it, that Sig Sauer had discovered. Now I'm saying this is probably now a year into this from when we pulled off the miracle and got the bags done in 8 weeks. It was a year later, roughly a year later, that they were having another event, and I'd gotten a call saying that there was a little bit of an issue. What's the issue? And apparently the female shooter had gone and signed a contract or got into a relationship with another company to create an identical fanny pack with the same branding, this rose brand, which is what Sig Sauer created with this shooter. And they were now launching it, and they were now selling it. And this female, who is a sponsored team shooter for Sig Sauer, was promoting that bag. Now, mind you, Sig Sauer had just placed another order for the fanny packs because they were selling so well. And then they wanted some to be shipped to this next in-person event. So there was a lot of things in motion. A lot of time, energy, and money had gone into this whole branding program. And keep in mind, and I mentioned this on last night's video, I was told by someone at Sig Sauer that this company, Vertex, had been approached to make the bag in the first place when they were in that pinch. But they weren't able to do, or they said they couldn't do it in that timeline. They said it would take a year. That's what I was told. This is what I was told. So that's why they came to us. Well, a year later, they come out with the bag for her, and she's now promoting that fanny pack under the same name, like Rose, that Sig Sauer had created. So someone calls me from Sig Sauer and she says, listen, I just want to let you know about this before you find out through social media. And I said, what? And she sent me a post, and she sent me a couple other things. And essentially it was this female shooter promoting this other bag for this other company when they had just placed another order for this bag. And I said, what is going on here? What is happening? How is this possible? And she said, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We're going to try to get to the bottom of this and what have you. But I was told, don't worry about it. They're figuring everything out. And don't worry. The next event was coming up, and, just get all the stuff there for the next event. We had to ship some product there because they give these out, these fanny packs out, the 221B ones. They give them out at that event to all the women that show up, which is an incredible and awesome thing that Sig Sauer does. So go to the event, and now in preparation, in getting all the stuff to the event and everything, a lot of the women from previous events were reaching out about a pair of gloves we had at all the events. We put out their product, but then we also put out other 221B tactical products. And we have a pair of shooting gloves that I designed myself. They're like a second skin. They're awesome. They don't, you use your touchscreen. They're super slim fitted, and it's a great glove. But women love this glove because it's not some crazy tactical ninja glove, just a nice thin shooting glove with great dexterity. And we had some out on our table at these Rose events where all these women were at. And women kept coming up saying, can I buy a pair of these gloves? Can I buy a pair of these gloves? And because of the relationship and because we're at this event, if we had their size, I was just giving the women these gloves. Well, then a couple of women came up and said, hey, I heard she got a pair of gloves. Can I get a pair of gloves? And then, we didn't have all the sizes there, or we didn't have enough. So I would take their name. I would take their email down. I'd get their information. I said, I'll send you a pair. I'll send you a pair. So probably like 10 or 11, I don't know how many. I had to send them a pair of these gloves. They all wrote back, these gloves are amazing. Love them. These are awesome, whatever. And I told the people at Sig Sauer, the woman who ran the event and her assistants, that I had done this, and they were very thankful. They were so happy. So for this next event that was happening, what I did was I had those gloves made with the Rose logo that Sig Sauer had created with their shooter. And I had them made in a bunch of different sizes that were smaller sizes for females, and brought them to the event. So at the event, all the women got a free pair of gloves. Now, Sig Sauer didn't ask me to do this. I just did this on my own. And the people that were there, the two of the women that were there were like, That's so nice. So nice of you to do that. Very gracious of you to do that. And they were so happy. One of the women that was there with Sig Sauer was not so happy and was upset that I had brought although I was very transparent. I had told everyone that I was doing it and had the logo on it with the color and everything. One of the women apparently didn't tell me, but apparently was upset that I did this. I said, wow, how could you be upset that I'm giving? I mean, they're at this event. All these women that come to this event are just getting tons of free shit. Free fanny pack, free this, free that. Every vendor there that was making something for this Rose program was there giving something away for free to these people. So I was just like, yeah, why not? Why not? It's a great event. I'll give away these gloves. All the women were trying to buy them at the last one. I'll give it to them. And this time they won't have the 221B logo. They'll have the Rose Sig Sauer logo. So they were great. I had Sig Sauer on the finger with the Rose logo here. Great. Women loved it. Everyone took them. Everyone was happy. All the women. Come to find out, this one woman who was working for Sig Sauer at the time, I believe she's no longer with the company, was upset. I found out why she was upset. She said, Vertex again, was working on a glove. They were developing a glove. They had a glove in development. And they were upset that the girl that we had at our table was giving away these gloves, that we already had this glove. We'd been selling our Recon gloves for years. We came out with this glove years ago. Was upset that we were giving these gloves out for free because they were working on a glove that was coming out in the next year or something. That's what I was told. And they were upset that we gave away these gloves to the women. So my immediate response was, did they have those gloves there, or were they trying to get, a sample out to these women to try and test or something? And I was told, no, they did not. And I said, well, no one told me that they were working on gloves. And by the way, you're telling me that they're upset that I'm giving away free gloves to your people who paid thousands of dollars to come to this event. And I'm just doing this out of the graciousness in my heart because I thought, it was a nice thing. It was a kind gesture. They're upset because they're coming out with a glove soon and me giving away gloves is upsetting them. But meanwhile, they're the company that went behind your back and signed a deal with your shooter to create an identical fanny pack and brand it with the same branding as the one you created for her at Sig Sauer. And nobody's upset about that. But not only is nobody upset about that, well, I guess people were upset about it, but now you're saying they're upset about this glove thing. If I were someone at Sig Sauer and someone from that company said, hey, whoa, we don't agree with that guy giving away his gloves to these women for free, I would have said, well, we don't agree with you stealing. We spent all this money with this bag and development with this company, and then you essentially steal the promotion from right underneath us, steal our branding, and create a bag that's identical to this. And now our shooter who shoots for us is promoting your bag and not promoting the bag that we created with 221B Tactical under her name and under her brand that's sold on our website. It was on the Sig Sauer website. So Sig Sauer spent time, money, energy, effort, everything to create this bag, fanny pack, and put it on their website and place an order for it, multiple orders, which it would cost money. And now this other company has their own. They came in the back door. I don't know what the deal was. People were calling it a backdoor deal. I don't want to call it a backdoor deal because I don't know what it was. But can you imagine Michael Jordan signing the contract with Nike and saying, I'm going to sign on with Nike and Nike creates the Air Jordan. The Air Jordan. They create the whole thing. The Air Jordan, they create the logo, they create everything. And they place the order with the factories, and they're ordering millions of dollars of stuff. Not that it was millions of dollars in this, but for Nike, it would be millions of dollars in shoes, and they're bringing all the inventory. They're listing it on the website as the Air Jordan. And a year later, they open up their phone and they see Michael Jordan over here with Adidas with the Air Jordan under Adidas. Everyone at Nike would be like, whoa, what's going on here? Wait, we created Air Jordan, and your shoe is with us. And he's just like, well, they said they wanted to make a shoe for me too. So they made an Air Jordan too. Well, Air Jordan's our thing over here at Nike. We invented that. Well, yeah, they're calling it Air Jordan 2, but it's Adidas. And they're just going to sell it on their website. It's cool. Don't worry about it. So the crazy thing was, at this event where this whole glove thing happened, all the women got the 221B Tactical Sig Sauer Rose fanny pack. But this shooter at one point had the Vertex fanny pack on. So there were women who came up to me at that event, kind of like on the side, were like, what fanny pack is that? Is that yours too? Is that a different version? Is that a new prototype? And I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus. So I was like, I don't know. I think that might be something else she's working on. I don't know. I really don't know. And then it started to leak out. It started to come out. It started to bleed out that she had gone, or Vertex had gone to her, or she had gone to Vertex. They developed a fanny pack that was eerily similar to the one we developed, and they were selling it. They had a section on their website with her photos, the same rose branding kind of language, and it was being sold on their website, while the original one was still being sold on the Sig Sauer website. And it was selling. It was selling well. But she was no longer on her personal pages promoting the Sig Sauer one. She was promoting the Vertex one, and everyone saw it. So people were contacting me right and left like, yo, did you see this? People were sending me screenshots. People were sending me posts. People were sending me screen recordings. Like, yo, what's up with this? Do you see that she's promoting this other company's bag and is not even promoting the bag that her company produced with her and with you? And I said, yeah, I see it. There's nothing I could do about it. I don't know what happened. I didn't even know how that was possible. Like, you would think when Nike signed Michael Jordan and created the Air Jordan, there had to have been some kind of contract there that would let them say, hey, by the way, you can't go to any other shoe company and create a shoe with anyone else. That is against the contract. I was told, apparently, from multiple sources that, and I'm not trying to say in her defense, but kind of in her defense, I was told that no such contract was in place, because people were calling me and they were saying, oh, that's fucked up. How could she do that? And I'm saying to myself, well, if there was nothing in writing saying she couldn't, although morally and ethically, I don't think it was the right thing to do or a kind thing to do. If there was no legal contract in place precluding her from doing that, and someone swooped in and offered her money or whatever it was that would make someone do that, sure. Well, I guess it's not wrong. It's not wrong from a legal standpoint. Is it wrong morally, ethically? Well, that's what people were saying. I was just blown away. Then I got a call from someone at Sig Sauer apologizing for this whole debacle, this whole mess. And this person really should not have been the one to call me and to apologize. I felt like the shooter, the female, the athlete should have been the one to call and apologize, because the higher ups at Sig Sauer didn't do this. And I kind of wanted to know, like, why would you do this? Why, when this company that you've been with for a decade, that supported you and helped build you and help you grow and help you build this massive following and then created this brand around you and created this product around you, why would you allegedly go behind their back? Because everyone at Sig Sauer said they had no idea it was happening. So I'm saying allegedly behind their back, because they all said they didn't know it was happening. That's what I'm told by multiple people at Sig Sauer. They had no idea. It was just this thing that happened in the shadows between her and Vertex, and that was, no one knew what was going on. Before anyone knew what was happening, it was already done. So, needless to say, a few months later, we were told that our contract for that fanny pack was terminated because they were unable to sell a product for her that was built around her, that she herself was not promoting, where she was promoting that same product or very close to that product made by another company on their website and on her personal pages. So the sales were going down for the one that was on their site. So they were stuck with a bunch of inventory, and they said they weren't going to order anymore. So that's what I was told, and that was it. That was it. Now, a lot of people have asked me, why do you think this happened? How could this have happened? And I don't like to make assumptions, but the only thing I could think of that would make someone do that, like the only thing I could think of that would make Michael Jordan, after signing a deal with Nike and they create the Air Jordan, they create the marketing and they order the product and they do everything, for him to go to Adidas, hypothetically, and have them create a shoe for him with the same branding, I think the only thing that would make that happen is money. The only thing I could think of that would lead anyone in that situation to do that is money. I don't know what the money deal was with the rip on the fanny pack sales through Sig Sauer. I don't know how that was structured. I wasn't told. That was not disclosed to me. And I'm speculating there was a money deal involving Vertex. And since then, Vertex has done other products with her, creating her line, her brands, literally like what Sig Sauer was trying to do. They just decided to do it, which is another story. I'm not going to get into the politics of, companies poaching people and stealing products, right? Because it's stupid. And if you're a company that needs to do that, then that's what you have to deal with. I mean, that's like, when people walk around angry and trying to hurt other people, and they're already suffering, they're already living in hell if that's how they're living every day. So there's nothing I need to do. I let them be. I don't even let those people even enter into my space. I don't let that energy in, because if you're someone who's operating like that, you're already hurting and you already have negative energy and you're already suffering. So that's all you need. You don't need me to come after you and add more suffering. You're already suffering. So, people have sent me 1,000 messages. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing. God sees everything, and God takes care of those people accordingly. I have full faith in the Lord. So I'm not going to do anything. And I'm not going to, talk bad or whatever, because they're not the first company that has pulled something like this, and they're not the last. But all we can do is say, do we want to be like that, or do we want to be like this? And to me, I want to be like this. I want to be how I am. I don't want to be like that. And that's all I could do. All I could say is, we're not going to operate like that. We're not going to do that. We're going to operate with morals and ethics, and we're going to hold our line and keep our energy here. And if other people want to operate like that, okay, fine. I'm not one to judge. God judges, and we'll let the Lord sort all that out. But that's not me. So I was not going to sit there and, put my opinions out there about that company or her or how she could do that. And although people from Sig Sauer, people who are currently working there, people who used to work there, people who used to work with this girl who was a shooter, so many people reached out to me and they were all like angry. I can't believe this. This is so fucked up. And I was like, the most shocking thing was, when you meet this person, she comes off as so positive and so happy, and has this presence and this aura and this appeal, which is why Sig Sauer loved her and they built this brand. So when you hear this story and you can only think of one thing that may have led to this, I don't know. Maybe there was, I don't know. Maybe there's someone tied up in a basement somewhere and they said, you got to do this. I don't know. But when you hear this story, of course, the people who are calling me, texting me, sending me screenshots, it only makes you think one thing: money, which is sad, which is really sad. And it made me sad. It made me sad for Sig Sauer. It made me sad for this individual and what she was going through, or what was in her mind that led to that decision. And everyone involved, there were a lot of people involved at Sig Sauer, that this whole thing made a massive, massive disruption. And it was bad. It was really bad. And Sig has been dealing with other things. Obviously, they've been dealing with the 320 issue, and they're trying to recover from that. And, they're making headway there. And yeah. So anyway, that's the story. And it was just one. Let me just say this. This was just one of probably about a dozen stories I can share with you that I've experienced since starting 221B Tactical in 2014. In 2014. Of things like this happening. And I know 12 years later, it's going to happen again. Because that's the world we live in. And you have to be prepared for that. You can't sit here and be shocked and fall over or freeze when it happens. I know it's going to happen again. The only thing we can do is be prepared and have some sort of hedge in place so it's not a massive hit to us. And we do have that in place, because we're a big organization now. We're not Sig Sauer big, but we're not running out of my garage like we were 12 years ago. And we have military contracts. We have contracts with police agencies and military around the world. And we now know how to operate. And we always move in a way knowing that what happened in this Sig Sauer situation with this female shooter and Vertex can happen any moment, any day. We just know that, because we know there's always, if there's grass, there will be snakes in the grass. You have to assume that. There's like a thing in Florida. They say, how do you know if there's gators in a body of water when you're in Florida? And you know, because it's a body of water. You just assume that any body of water in the state of Florida has gators. That's just like, that's how you operate. You go near that water with that caution. You go in that water with that caution and that knowledge. If you're in a boat or something, you are just, whatever you're doing, you have that knowledge. If you're in water, there's gators here. Whether you see one or not, You just got to have that mind. And that's how I operate. Snakes in the grass. Just knowing. But more importantly, till the day I am no longer in charge of this company, I've let everyone know. And I could say this because I'm at the helm. I'm the CEO. The buck stops with me. Every single person in this organization knows that we will never be one of the snakes in the grass. We will never be one of the gators in the water. We have said no, I don't know how many times, to different people presenting different opportunities because we saw what was in the background. And I've said personally, I mean, I'm not involved in all of the marketing decisions, but I've said personally, yeah, let that other situation clear up and then let us know. And then 100% we're in. We're in. But just be complete with that other thing. And then we got you. Or are you still involved with this? Yeah, contract's almost ending, or, they kind of went back on this contract. Let me know when you're completely free and clear of that contract. And when that happens, cool. Let me know. Text me. Just shoot me a text when it's all said and done. I got you. And people have actually been like, okay, wow, respect. Okay, got you. All right, cool. That's how we'll operate as long as I'm in charge of this company. That's it. So that's the story that so many people have been waiting for. It's been years. I have not publicly shared that story. And like I said, this is not an indictment on any one person or any one company or any, this is a story. And this happened. And I'm sharing with you the details of what happened. If you noticed in this whole time, I didn't share an opinion. I just showed, okay, this happened and then this happened and then this, so I just shared the facts. I'll let you guys form your opinion. You could form your opinion about all the actors and all the parties involved. And that's your right. You're your own person. Form your own opinion. I have my opinion, but this isn't the platform to share them. I share them here in text messages to people who I'm personally messaging. But I wanted to share this story to let people know the reality of business and the reality of some of the people and some of the things, some of the companies that are in this industry. And my good friend John Bartolo, God rest his soul, called this years ago. He had a podcast where he would call this shit out and call people out on his podcast right and left. And there's a lot of people who hated him. There's a lot of people who hated John Bartolo. But there's a lot of people who hated him because he was spitting the truth. And he was making people feel uncomfortable because he was saying the shit that you just weren't supposed to say. You weren't supposed to say, like, everyone knew that that guy was doing that. Everyone knew that that company was doing that. But you weren't supposed to say it. You weren't supposed to say it out loud. You're supposed to walk around SHOT Show and, like, when you saw that guy or you saw that girl or you saw that company's booth, you kind of just walked by and were like, But he didn't give a fuck. He would just say it outright on his show. And it made people uncomfortable. God, how dare he? What? How dare he say what's actually happening? How dare he speak the truth? How dare he share actual facts of what's happening, devoid of his opinion, and let his listeners form their own opinion, use their own brain? How dare he? No, he dared. He sure did. And that's why he had the following and the reputation he had. Most people are too scared. And honestly, for a few years, the last few years, I was too scared. But tomorrow is the anniversary of his passing. And 4 years ago. And there's a purpose. There's a value. and putting the truth out there. That's what we're going to continue to do from now. Here at 221 Be Tactical with the mission ready, all the stuff. So drop your comments below. People. Let me know what you're thinking or not thinking. Or don't do anything. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And remember, stay ready, stay prepared, because mission ready is not just about tactical gear, having the latest ninja toys. Mission ready is having the eyes and the ears to notice what's happening around you and preparing and knowing before the event occurs, noticing the things that happen left of the bang, knowing when there's snakes in the grass. That's how you elevate. That's how you stay above the fray. That's it. That's the live stream. Thanks for watching.